All right, I'm going to go through the 10 images I picked out from Georgia's game with Florida on Saturday. And we're just going to talk about the images. If you're a photographer, I do this. I've been doing this for about a quarter century, covering college football, specifically Georgia. If you're a Georgia fan, let's check these out. So, this first image is from way up top of the stadium. And we do this from time to time. This is Lab McConkey right in the middle of the screen at about the 12-yard line, scoring a very long touchdown for the Dogs. Carson Beck is at the 30-yard line with his hands up. These are really cool for really big books. The aperture was 10, f10, and then the shutter was at 250ths of a second. We're shooting these with this is a remote camera, a D3, so D3S to be specific. And that's a neat shot. It's got to be cleaned up. None of these are edited. All right, so this might be I don't know about best, but this might be one of the sort of most telling shots. This is Oscar Delp, who's a tight end at Georgia from Forsyth County, just north of Atlanta. And here he is pulling in a pass, and you may or may not be able to see the person behind his right shoulder. I wish I could show you I wish I could get the mouse on here to show you, but I don't know how to do that. That's Kirby Smart, who is Georgia's head coach. He can be pretty active at times, and there he is jumping at someone else's hip level. Kirby Smart played cornerback at Georgia, safety really, in his time there, and so he has a little athleticism to himself still. And there he is. There's Oscar Delp. This is probably, photographically speaking, probably the best image of the game that we shot. So this was shot with a 500 millimeter Nikon f4 lens. I shot it at f4. The aperture was, the shutter was 2,500ths of a second, and the ISO at 1250. This was shot. The ground levels are all shot with Nikon Z9s. So those are these obviously are digital cameras, but they have really high capacity because they're what's called mirrorless cameras. Here's Jalen Walker, the first real big play of the game for Georgia. He is stripping the ball from Graham Mertz, who had come into the game really as a very good quarterback, playing very well. I just want to say something about this image. First of all, this is such a classic Georgia-Florida image. The harsh sunlight, there's a lot of white whenever Georgia and the Gators play. There's particularly a lot of white when Georgia's the road team. And, Florida, is in dark. Occasionally they're in all white or all blue, excuse me. Sometimes Florida changes their colors. Georgia never does that. So Georgia is going all red top, silver breeches, or they're going white top, silver breeches. And of course, white top, silver breeches looks like all white, but it's silver breeches. And this is just such a classic. You can see how the sun can really blow these images out. This was a very important moment in the game. Florida had scored. They were up 7-0. Here comes Jalen Walker. They got him. It was 7-3. And this is Jamon Dumas Johnson, one of Georgia's really good linebackers, sacking Graham Mertz. I mean, Graham Mertz had a long day. He was sacked 4 times. It's just way too many times. If Florida thought that they were going to come in there and do what they wanted to do against this defense, not happening. Just not happening at all. And you can see this, again, same, Z9, the whole deal. These are very expensive optics, but we really value imagery at Dog Post. So this image is another. Oh my God. Quick story. This is the second quarter, so I can tell you why I know that. First of all, the sunlight in Jacksonville, just like at Auburn, can be extremely harsh. And you're seeing that in this image. Again, I don't color correct. I don't have time for that. We're doing videos, we're writing, we're running websites. I mean, I don't have time to color correct and all that stuff. That's for books and magazines. But this is DeJohn Edwards, who's from South Georgia. He's got a very slight knee brace on, I believe, right there. And we were really, I would say, harassed by security in the first quarter because they told us that we could, first of all, the problem was at the beginning of the game and throughout the game, CBS had their camera truck right on the corner of the end zone, which is not only dangerous, but just gets in the way. So that took up about one half of the end zone. And, I shoot in the end zone a lot. And usually that's not a problem because at other facilities, the play clock is not located at ground level. Well, whoever designed the Gator Bowl left on this side of the field, going towards where Georgia was going in the first quarter, they left the play clock on the field, which is idiotic because coming back this way when Georgia scored all their points, the play clock was elevated. Again, this is not that hard. This is something that should be corrected by Jacksonville like tomorrow because the Jags are dealing with it too. And so the security guard keeps telling me how crowded it is. I'm like, hey, I don't care, but y'all can't just come over during the middle of a play and tell us we got to move. Like Georgia was about to score and he's screaming at us, you got to move, you got to move. No, get it right before the game. Speaking of screaming, here's this guy. This is Georgia's head coach, Kirby Smart. Again, this is just before the half. And Georgia, this is his reaction to having the ball at like the Florida 38-yard line, up 26-7, and sending the team out to punt. He knew that he could completely end the game at that moment, and he was very frustrated that they did not pick up at least a first down. Florida got the ball and moved it down the field, but they didn't score. But this was Kirby Smart being very exasperated. Again, if you're a photographer, extremely harsh lighting. The clouds were not out there for us helping. So this is the classic Georgia-Florida shot after the game. Again, we had problems with security people. I don't think this is that hard. Just what are the rules, and we're going to do the rules. But anyway, let me talk about this image. This is Carson Beck, number 15. He's the starting quarterback at Georgia. He's talking with number 77 there, Cedric Van Granger, and Tate Ratledge to Carson's left, to your right. We have a young man in a Brock Bowers jersey. He's got blonde hair and with a sign that says "Gators eat boogers." This is where all the students are, and I'll just tell you, it cleared out so much that this shot doesn't really show how important this game is for Georgia and Florida too. And so this was Ryan Curley, who had a different type of pass than I did, and therefore had difficulty with security guards because we don't have problems like this at other stadiums and other places, but it can be challenging for no reason in Jacksonville often. But I've learned over the years just to let it go, whatever. So this is the classic players jump into the fans moment. And I told Ryan to get elevated, and he clearly did. This was shot with a Z9, another 500 millimeter shot, and we're going to get some more post game stuff here in a second. But this image here shows how much this game just really matters to Georgia fans. It is a big deal. So here is, I didn't think I got this. And again, not corrected for harsh sunlight. I was overexposed here. This is Georgia blocking their first punt of the year. This is a true freshman, number 8, coming in to block this. I thought Jalen Walker blocked it, but he did not. I didn't realize that until after the game. When you're on the field, stuff happens so fast that if it's not absolutely obvious, you'll miss it. If you're in the press box, you won't miss anything. You'll only miss it if you're not watching. On the field, that's not always the case. I have 3 cameras on the field. Okay, I have 3 cameras. One around my neck, one that I shoot with, and then one that's like on the side. That's a remote. So it's really challenging. So this was shot again with a Z9, which is the mirrorless Nikon camera. And this was shot with a Z9 and then an 80 to 200 2.8 lens. So if you know what that means, then great. But I had this at 175 millimeters. It's probably still in the, well, I wouldn't want to shoot tighter than this, to be honest with you, because the amount of data in these cameras now, you can crop in pretty good. The lighting is wrong. I'll just tell you that right now. It is overexposed. But the photographer to my left, Jason Getz from the Atlanta Journal-Constitution, who does a really good job for Atlanta. I'm sure I didn't see his image, but I'm sure he got that image too. Here is same exact setup. actually exposed properly. This is Dylan Bell. Dylan Bell is a really, really good player for Georgia. He is lots of trouble because he plays running back. He is a wide receiver. This is, I think, was this 4th and 1? I can't, I'm kind of blanking on it, but here's why this is a good picture. Well, first of all, it's exposed properly. But secondly, all the limbs are exposed. You can see the coach's reaction back there. They don't realize he's caught it yet. And then you can see the score in the background. This is a really good picture. I mean, like, I'm not saying it's like anything unbelievable because it's not unbelievable, let me tell you. But it's a perfectly good shot. This is something that would, if the Gators were a little closer to him, it would be an even better shot. This would be a shot that you could square up in a newspaper, but we don't print newspapers anymore. So sometimes I take these pictures. Again, this is Georgia's head coach. This is with Georgia up. I think the score was 43-13 at this point. So Georgia was up a significant, they were up 30 against their arch rival. And you never forget, so I've covered the team for almost a quarter century now. And there was a player that played at Georgia. His name was Artie Lynch. He was a tight end in 2013. He was talking about Georgia, Florida, and he said, all you want at the end of the game is your team and a bunch of teal seats. So he said, you want red, black, and teal. And what he meant was that the other team's fans had gone home. Well, they left basically at the half. And this is what it was like in the fourth quarter, right here. I don't know if Kirby Smart coaches harder in the fourth quarter or if I can just hear him better in the fourth quarter. But they really go hard developing these guys. This image was taken again with the Z9. I swapped out a lens. This is with a 14 to this is a 14 to 24 millimeter. This is at 24 millimeters. This is an extremely wide angle lens, and you'll see what I'm talking about here in a second. I get another shot with Kirby in a second here. But it just shows this is the Florida side of the stadium, and let me tell you, they were cleared out. I think this is not quite. Let me get back to that. This is Ryan. We had a lot of problems yesterday, as I discussed, with security and so forth. We usually have an elevated shot or two. The camera that Ryan was using, which is a D4, a Nikon D4, it's about 13, 14 years old that I bought probably 13, 14 years ago. It's expensive camera. It's no longer expensive. Well, the aperture is breaking on it. You can tell. He had a really hard time because it makes the images darker. You can't see through the camera. It's hard. Here's Carson Beck throwing. I don't know to who. We don't know. I don't know when. I couldn't tell you when this was. This looks like it's in the second quarter, I should say, because of the shadows and the way that they're going. But Ryan got through it. He shoots with a 600 millimeter f4, 600 millimeter lens with the D4 consistently. He's very used to it. When you're shooting up top, of course, it's much slower, so that's good. What I mean by that is you can see the play developing. You miss a lot of stuff, but like this is a really cool shot that you could use in a magazine. There's a lot of things that you could do with this picture, but we just like the different perspective. I mean, 18's coming free right there in the middle, but he's too late. And of course, I don't know if that's a run. It sure looks like a running back picking up 15. And he did. You see Ernest Green there getting the back. That number one for Florida is pretty good. And, Michael Morris there in the middle, Cedric Van Pran, Granger, they're getting a job done. That's a lot of space. There is no Florida Gator within 5 yards of Carson Beck. That's a nice pocket. And here's the last shot I'm going to show you. So this is again with the Z9. This is Kirby Smart to the left there. And in post-game situations, I'm not a very good photographer. I'm just going to tell you that right now. So you see the people behind Jared Zirkle, or right beside him. I do not know the gentleman with the hat's name, but he shoots for the Atlanta Constitution. He's shot for them forever. He's exactly where you want to be, which is facing the head coach. The man next to him is, I think, from the Jacksonville paper, and he's exactly where he's supposed to be. I'm not. So I had to make it work. So I go up high, spray and pray. I'm really wide. To the left of the man with the blue shirt is the SEC inside. They were out there the whole time. with everything. And then my old buddy Chris Collins is back above what would be above Kirby. You can see the fans in the background. There's Mary Beth Smart, who is a former basketball player at Georgia, and she's Kirby's wife. She's watching this. You got the state troopers typically around. The troopers didn't follow him around as much this time, thankfully. And then Georgia's players are. And I say thankfully, not because I got problems. It's just more people around Kirby, and you want to get clean shots of them if you can. But I understand why they're there. Let me tell you. But this was Lad McConkey's second 100-yard game in his career. I think the other one was Mississippi State. Lad McConkey, number 84 right here with the curly hair. This guy is legit. Like, he's a lot of trouble. And, he's a little shorter than Kirby, I think. Now, that's a good question, actually. And, this game means, I've said this many times, this game means so much to these guys and this program and this, this event. If you've never been to Georgia, Florida before, I would encourage you just to, you don't even have to go into the game, but it is one of the true events of the fall in the South. There's the Masters in Augusta in the spring. I think in the summer, there's all sorts of 4th of July stuff, but down here, we don't really we have seasons. We don't really have winter. And so, but this is the end. You're going into the fall when it's Georgia, Florida. And the pumpkins are out. It's Halloween. It is the quintessential turning of the seasons. For years, this was the last day before daylight savings time. And, there's a lot of romanticism about the game in the stadium in Jacksonville, the way that the sun sets, the way that, it gives you beautiful skies. And there's so much in terms of visually that's great about this game. The colors, you have blue and red, you have black and orange. The orange is not great. Let's just, the Florida people will tell you that. But it looks right in that stadium and in that moment. And if you've never been, you need to go. If you have the means to go to the game, it's something that you just shouldn't miss. It's such a spectacular, I don't even know how to describe it, but it is one of in Georgia, and certainly at the University of Georgia, it is one of the key moments of the year. 365 days, you got graduation, you got, I don't even know, you got Georgia, Florida. That is a huge moment in the calendar. And just to go back to this image one last time, Lad McConkey, number 84 right there, he was not highly recruited by anybody, period. Kirby Smart was not highly recruited by anybody. They both wound up at Georgia, and I can assure you they have both been consequential because of that. They matter a lot. And the pure emotion of this game, I knew Kirby Smart would celebrate after this game because it matters to him. You can see it and you can feel it. And, he should celebrate. There's not a lot of games like this one. And there's a reason why it's a special game. And there's a reason why, you see these sorts of celebrations after a blowout win. The Dogs taking out the Gators. That's a look at some of the images from the weekend. Thanks for watching.